Imagine living in a world where every day is a battle for survival, a time when the Earth was much colder and vast ice sheets covered large parts of the planet. This was the reality for early humans during the Paleolithic Age. Unlike today, where we have the luxury of modern conveniences, our ancestors had to be resourceful and resilient just to stay alive. During much of the Paleolithic Age, Earth was in the grip of an ice age. Temperatures were freezing, and massive glaciers covered regions that we now know as fertile lands. In such a harsh climate, resources were scarce, and finding food, water, and shelter was a constant challenge. Early humans banded together in tight-knit communities, relying on each other for survival. These groups were constantly on the move, migrating to find areas where edible plants, fresh water, and game animals were more abundant. In places where food was plentiful, such as lush areas with ample water, some early humans could settle more permanently. These conditions allowed them to engage in artistic and social activities, giving us some of the earliest examples of human creativity. Survival required teamwork and cooperation. This need for mutual support fostered a sense of equality among these early hunter-gatherers, much like the few remaining groups who live this way today. While men typically hunted, women gathered plants, fruits, and other edibles. This division of labor ensured the group's survival. Scientists have identified at least 5 major ice ages in Earth's history. These ice ages occurred when less sunlight reached the planet's surface, leading to cooler temperatures and the growth of glaciers. The last significant glaciation period began over 100,000 years ago and peaked around 18,000 years ago. Massive ice sheets, sometimes 2 miles thick, covered large parts of North America, Europe, and Asia. These dramatic climate changes had a profound impact on human migration. As ice sheets expanded and sea levels dropped, land bridges emerged, allowing humans to travel to new regions. This is likely how humans first spread out of Africa, reaching places like Southeast Asia, Japan, Australia, and eventually North America. Adapting to colder climates, early humans developed new technologies. They learned to make clothing from animal hides, which they cleaned and fashioned into garments using rock tools. By around 30,000 years ago, they had invented the first sewing needles from bone, wood, and ivory, enabling them to create more fitted and functional clothing. A remarkable example of early human ingenuity is the discovery of Ötzi, a 5,000-year-old man found in the Alps between Austria and Italy. Ötzi was dressed in a heavy coat made of goat and sheep hides, tight-fitting leggings, a bearskin cap, and shoes made from woven grass and deer hide. His clothing reflects the advanced skills early humans developed to survive in harsh, cold environments. As the climate warmed and glaciers retreated around 17,000 years ago, new lakes and rivers formed, providing fresh opportunities for early humans. They began to exploit marine life along the coasts, diversifying their diets and adapting to the changing world around them. Some groups, isolated by rising sea levels, developed unique cultures and ways of life, particularly those in maritime Southeast Asia, Australia, and the Americas. And until about 12,000 years ago, human populations were quite small, relying on hunting and gathering to survive. A typical group might be as small as 15 people or as large as 40. These groups were often broken down into family units. Their small size fostered close relationships, crucial for cooperation and survival. Groups larger than 40 would struggle to find enough resources and maintain cohesion, often splitting into smaller units to find new areas to inhabit. Diet during this period was diverse, depending heavily on the environment. Early humans ate nuts, fruits, berries, wild grains, honey, fish, birds, shellfish, insects, and various animals. Those in lush, warm environments had access to a wide range of plants and animals, while those in colder, icier regions relied more on animal and fish sources. Fishing involved spears, nets, and bone hooks, while hunting focused mainly on smaller animals, though large game hunts were also undertaken. Evidence shows that humans hunted large animals like deer, horses, gazelle, bison, and woolly mammoths. Some groups even used strategic methods like driving bison herds over cliffs to process their meat and hides. Hunting mammoths, weighing around 6 tons, required significant cooperation and sophisticated tools like spears. Although dangerous, a successful mammoth hunt provided a substantial amount of meat, hide, and bone. For shelter, early humans used natural refuges like caves and constructed shelters from materials such as wood, bone, and animal skins. Archaeological findings suggest that some populations lived in the same caves for tens of thousands of years. For instance, the Pangayasedi cave in Kenya may have housed humans for about 78,000 years. When caves weren't available, people built shelters, some even from mammoth bones covered with hides, as found in Eastern Europe. There's also strong evidence that Paleolithic humans had developed some form of spirituality or religion. Natural events like sunsets, earthquakes, and comets might have held supernatural significance. Early humans possibly practiced a form of animism, believing that spirits existed in people, plants, objects, and natural phenomena. The detailed cave paintings of animals like bison and deer might reflect their spiritual beliefs, and some individuals may have served as shamans, connecting the community to the spiritual world. Both modern humans and Neanderthals buried their dead, often including household items in graves. Some burial sites in Eastern and Southern Europe, dating back 30,000 years, were particularly elaborate, with ivory spears, discs, red ochre, and beads made from mammoth ivory and fox teeth. While these burials suggest a belief in the afterlife, their exact significance remains unclear. Archaeological studies and observations of modern hunter-gatherers suggest that ancient societies were quite egalitarian. The small group size, lack of wealth, and nomadic lifestyle likely contributed to this equality. However, there were undoubtedly some differences within these groups based on physical ability, intelligence, and charisma, which were recognized and utilized. Older theories suggested men hunted while women cooked and cared for children. Recent studies, however, propose that both men and women contributed significantly to society. While men likely did most of the hunting, women gathered plants and other foods, providing crucial calories. When men were away hunting, women would have managed everything else, including protecting their homes, repairing shelters, and making tools. Our understanding of Paleolithic life is somewhat limited, but by studying present-day hunter-gatherer societies, we can piece together a clearer picture. Although few such societies remain, they exist in regions where agriculture isn't practical or desired, like the Kalahari Desert, the Arctic, Tanzania, and parts of Australia. The San people of the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa offer a glimpse into this ancient lifestyle. Living in parts of Botswana, Namibia, and Angola, the San who maintain traditional ways do so in groups of up to 60, comprising several related families. They forage for wild vegetables, nuts, fruit, and insects, and hunt antelope with throwing sticks, spears, and poison-tipped arrows. Their groups are mostly leaderless, though respected hunters or elders might have some authority. Despite their egalitarian society, there are clear divisions of labor. Men typically start fires and hunt, while women gather food and build shelters from tree branches and grass. Water is scarce, so the San collect it from specific plants and watering holes, storing it in hollowed-out ostrich eggs for later use. In stark contrast, the Inuit of the Arctic regions of northern Alaska, Canada, and Greenland have adapted to a very different environment. Living in small, egalitarian bands, they rely heavily on hunting and fishing due to the scarcity of edible plants. Their prey includes caribou, walrus, whales, seals, polar bears, muskox, and foxes, providing meat, fuel, and hides for clothing and vessels. Men usually handle hunting and fishing, while women care for children, maintain homes, and process food. The emphasis on hunting, a dangerous task often leading to injury or death, has historically resulted in a higher number of women than men in Inuit society, influencing social practices like polygamy and infanticide. Modern technology, such as firearms, has altered some of their hunting methods. The Awa people of the Brazilian rainforest represent another unique hunter-gatherer society. Unlike the San and Inuit, the Awa live in a lush environment with abundant resources. They number about 350 and adopted their current lifestyle relatively recently, abandoning settled communities in the 19th century. Despite this, the Awa display typical hunter-gatherer characteristics: egalitarianism, minimal material possessions, small group sizes, and a reliance on hunting and gathering. They highly value the babasu palm fruit and also hunt fish and other animals with bows and arrows. The spiritual beliefs of these groups are as diverse as their environments. The Inuit have rich mythology involving fantastic hunts and supernatural creatures, with the northern lights holding both comforting and terrifying meanings. The San's beliefs center around a being named Kagan, who can take various animal forms. They perform rituals for significant life events and recognize shamans with special connections to the supernatural. The Awa conduct unique ceremonies during full moons and other significant times, performing rituals that allow them to interact with the spirit world.